Story 1. People have weird ideas about what the Central Intelligence Agency does because only their 1% most outrageous stunts get publicized. I'm pretty sure their typical day job is just going around identifying foreign government workers most likely to sell information for cash. Story 2. Yes, but only because I know that if they came looking for me, they know I can. I don't have any special skills, but I have faith in the Central Intelligence Agency to know my true potential. Story 3. I can answer confidently because I was recruited by a 3-letter agency, not exactly the Central Intelligence Agency. Very early on in the process, I was told about what taking the job would mean for my life going forward. For example, my phone and computers would be wiretapped and monitored for the rest of my life, as would my wife's. My closest friends and extended family would also be monitored to some extent and may be interviewed. I was even encouraged to tell my friends and extended family that they could expect a knock on the door from the agency. It would not be a secret that I worked for the agency. Everything else about the job would be secret. Outside of my office, I would not be able to discuss anything work-related. And I mean anything. Obviously, I would not be able to say the names of anyone I worked with. And if I traveled, I would not be able to tell my wife where I was going. Even minor details about my work would be secret. I would not be able to tell anyone what floor I worked on or how many people I worked with. If I had a bad day at work, I would not be able to tell my wife anything about why. She and I would just have to be okay with me being upset or bothered and not being able to talk about it. Taking the job or really progressing any further in the interview process would have drastic implications for me and my family. I was encouraged to give this real thought, and I was told that I could discuss these life changes with my family. Ultimately, I declined to move forward. So the short answer is no, I would not pass through the whole process. None of the process I went through is secret, I hope, so I could answer some questions if anyone is interested. But I assure you, it's way more boring than you think. Story 4. I am a good cook, but I do not know if I have the culinary knowledge to really stand up to restaurant chefs. I am probably too slow anyway. I always take my time in the kitchen. Story 5. Nope. Because I care about people and I hate what our government does to its own people, not to mention the rest of the world. So forget the Central Intelligence Agency and every other government organization. Story 6. Yes, I am a domestic terrorist. Also, who am I supposed to contact for my Central Intelligence Agency funding? I've been waiting a while and it still hasn't happened. Do I need to assassinate someone first? Story 7. I'm just smart enough to know they would not show up to my door. They would ask a very interesting question on the world's 9th largest website and test thousands of people at once. Story 8. I would most likely pass everything except the drug test, as they do not allow marijuana. However, the background check, polygraph, security clearance, psychological, and medical exams would all come back fine. Story 9. Easy. I assume their standards are much lower for non-American citizens outside the United States, so I would be a shoo-in. Having 2 non-American citizenships would make me extra attractive. Story 10. No, I'm bipolar I to start. I dislike making foreign children into skeletons. Killing would be interesting, I guess. I am dumb as shit. When I learn about cool stuff, I can't help but hint about it until I just give it away. I schooled in a mental institution. If this was Command and Conquer, I would be crazy Ivan. Story 11. We had some family members who qualified to work for the Central Intelligence Agency, and when they were told that due to the position they qualified for, which was medical-related, they could not be informed where they would be sent, whether family could accompany them, and how long they would be away, the answer was no thanks. Story 12. I'm not American, nor do I live in the United States, and I like my country. Plus, I'm left-wing. No chance of making it, as they would know I'd sabotage them once I'm in. Story 13. If the Central Intelligence Agency comes knocking on a random person's house who obviously has no particularly special skills, that person is probably going to get put in a pretty big situation that would result in either their death or life in prison. The Central Intelligence Agency are not your friends. Story 14. Absolutely not. I am not blindly patriotic, I'm not a white supremacist, and I don't think enslaving poor countries so the very wealthy can be even wealthier is a worthwhile use of resources. The Central Intelligence Agency doesn't want me. Story 15. I'd ask what the hell that spook was doing on my property and tell him to kick rocks. The Central Intelligence Agency is one of the world's largest terrorist organizations. And yes, they are terrorists. They use violence and the threat thereof to effect political change on others. That's the definition of terrorism. Story 16. No, I've got borderline personality disorder with a history of drug abuse and several stints at the rehabilitation center. I also have dissenting political views that the Central Intelligence Agency probably already knows about and dislikes. Story 17. I'm colorblind, so I doubt they would want me. That's the major reason the Secret Service turned me down a couple of decades ago, though at this point I think I got the better end of the deal. I wasn't aware I was colorblind when I applied. Failing the physical with them let me know. Story 18. Oh, for sure. It's real simple. I'm just as slimy as they are. I fit right in. Probably rise through the ranks, do some hardcore spying on American citizens, and be as unproductive as humanly possible. Story 19. I might enjoy some analytics, but I'm way too ideological to be as morally gray as I'd need to be to work there. It's the same reason I don't work in defense. I prefer to do things that benefit rather than band-aid. Story 20. Depends on what you have to offer. Personally, I can't imagine a scenario where any of what I know would be useful to them. I'd assume they want to frame me or otherwise use me in a negative way. Story 21. I got to work alongside them in a previous war. They were recruiting everybody with our particular set of skills. No thank you. I wasn't tempted for a minute. They were all half miserable but riding high on this belief they were serving a higher cause. Nope. Story 22. No, I have been on psychiatric medications for over a decade, for one. I actually was talking to them about a technical skill job at one point, but I removed myself from consideration after realizing I preferred that skill to be a hobby. And I was not sure I would pass the background check anyway, due to the aforementioned mental illness. And now I have other physical illnesses as well. I do know several former Central Intelligence Agency spies, though. I used to work at the Spy Museum, and there are and were a bunch of former spies on the board or in other consulting and management positions. I knew Tony Mendez and Peter Ernest, both of whom have passed away, and also Oleg Kalugin, who was former Committee for State Security. Story 23. I currently do building maintenance. The Central Intelligence Agency is estimated to employ over 20,000 people. I'm sure there is a building somewhere that needs maintenance I could handle. Also, I could be a good secretary or assistant, I bet. Oh, actually, I used to work at Starbucks, so I could work at the Starbucks only Central Intelligence Agency agents go to. Just write John or Jane Doe on all the cups and make small, unobtrusive small talk. I don't speak any languages besides English, so I'm doubtful I'd be qualified for a lot of the exciting work. Story 24. Probably not, because I'm bad at lying and I am a huge talker. The moment the prospect of even getting a job offer lands on my lap, my best friend or my mom will definitely hear about it. Story 25. No, I wouldn't be able to pass the background, and I don't have a 4-year degree. There are a few positions that don't require one, but you still need to pass the background. I wouldn't be able to even work at Starbucks. They go through a background check too, but I don't know if they require a clearance or not. Story 26. Depends, am I a massive asshole like every main character of every box office film involving being a secret agent? Then yes. If not, odds are I better not be a go-getter because I'll clearly either not make it or be eliminated off screen. I'll not tell you even if I was, though. Promise, officer. Story 27. Would I pass their tests? Perhaps I think I could on a lucky day. Do I want to work for them? Not really, but when they have decided you are to be their recruit, what other choice do you have? Story 28. I would figure if they are trying to recruit me, then it's because I have a skill they need. If that's the case, then there are probably innumerable other Americans with the same skills who are half my age, in far better physical condition, and probably with an active security clearance. If, however, I am one of the very few or the only one they could find, they probably will either fudge my test results or have it engineered so I could pass if the skill in question is that important to them. And if my skill is really that extremely important, I'm confident the Central Intelligence Agency Human Resources can waive all that and draft an offer letter with a start date and salary. Story 29. People trust me and tell me things. Deep, dark, damaging things. Things I could sell, trade, or use for harmful purposes. I'm guarding more secrets than a Catholic priest. No, I'm not revealing them here on Reddit. Why would I? Story 30. So the Central Intelligence Agency did recruit me. I did get a conditional job offer and did go through a gauntlet of tests, polygraphs, physicals, psychological evaluations, aptitude tests, and they revoked the offer. So I'm confident that I failed at least one of those. Story 31. In all seriousness, it would depend on the position they want filled. Field agent or officer? Nope. Archivist? Sure, for a generous salary. Building security? Not too keen on using deadly force. Almighty janitor? When do I start? Story 32. I don't know what you want. If you were looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I have acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. Story 33. I actually interviewed with the Central Intelligence Agency. Kind of weird. Responded to their ad with my resume, and they contacted me and indicated they wanted an interview with me. They provided an address in a high-rise office building downtown. Went there at the appointed time and was amused to find they were not listed on the tenant list in the lobby. When I got to the office, the door had no signage on it whatsoever. Just a wooden door. It was not locked, and I entered into a standard office-type environment. Had a good interview. The interviewer detailed what would be the next steps, including a second round of interviews. Then at the end, he said something to the effect of, many candidates are interested in whether recreational drug use would invalidate their ability to work at the Central Intelligence Agency. I want you to know that marijuana use will not prevent you from working at the Central Intelligence Agency. However, the prior use of cocaine or harder substances would invalidate your application. I said nothing and afterwards did not respond to their second interview information. Story 34. Recruit me for what? Considering that it has to hire a diverse array of people for a wide variety of tasks, I would think their tests aren't one size fits all. You don't need to test a translator or cryptographer in parkour, and I'm hoping the Central Intelligence Agency knows that. Story 35. Depends on their mission. They would see this post and realize the late-onset autism, past drug use, and current medication and just say no would be a great asset though. Hit me up for salary requirements. Story 36. As an analyst, yeah, we don't generally snap necks and get tortured while calling it training. So I imagine it would be a ton of PowerPoint. I got my PowerPoint Ranger tab in my tour of duty. Maybe tough trying to learn all that policy and procedure unless this is the test. Is this the test? Is everything a test? But if this were the test, I'm sure I just did all right. If it's not the test, what is the test? Story 37. Engineer who lacks empathy and enjoys travel, analyzing problems, and puzzles. I am surprised they have not come already. Not sure I would pass, but it would be fun to mess with them. Story 38. Actually, getting recruited for an intelligence agency involves a 6 to 8 hour interrogation as part of obtaining a security clearance that most people on Reddit would immediately fold at. And God forbid the Culinary Institute of America tries to recruit. Those kinds of hours and low pay would break anyone. Story 39. Why would they come knocking and looking like suspicious Mormons or door-to-door salesmen, possibly tipping off the neighbors, when they could just message you or call you to come in, which most people would agree to anyway because of curiosity? Story 40. Not a joke, the Federal Bureau of Investigation once asked me to help broker a deal with some folks that don't like America. For free. Because America and stuff. I just laughed at them and said, I'd be happy to train your personnel to sound knowledgeable on the subject. But no. Interacting with terrorists is what you get paid for. Story 41. Certified internal auditors. I took some auditing classes in college and dabble a bit at my job. I doubt I would pass the test. I definitely wouldn't know the correct terminology for things. Story 42. I'm holding out for something better. I figure why not just shoot my buddy, take his job, give it to his sworn enemy, raise gas prices, bomb a village, club a baby seal, hit the hash pipe, and join the National Guard. I could be elected president. Story 43. It depends on the kind of job and the kind of tests. Do they want me as some kind of file clerk? I could probably pass the tests for that. Do they want me as some kind of security operations center cyber ninja? No way am I passing those. Story 44. As a foreigner, I doubt they would trust me. As a 42-year-old with semi-regular health, astigmatism, decent cooking abilities, serviceable information technology abilities, a brain for a melange of useless information, and workable aim with firearms, let me say this. If the security of the United States depends on me, things are so messed up. Story 45. There was a period when the Central Intelligence Agency had recruitment ads during the commercial breaks of Smallville. So I'd say yes, given that they directly targeted people like me. At one point I had a chance. Story 46. At this point, if they came to recruit me, I don't think I would accept any testing. If they know their stuff, they would know what they're getting. It would be more about them selling the job to me than me being acceptable for them. That's where I'm at with any job I'm looking at. My resume speaks for itself, and beyond the standard getting to know you stuff, I'm not going to jump through hoops to get a job. They need to convince me that I want that one more than what I've got.